The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Did the New York Jets draft the key to unlocking the real Justin Fields? We'll talk about that and much more. It's a Monday, start of a new week. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started.
Man, our Jets are primed to win another offseason, baby.
I got just the guy to get us going tonight.
We bleed Jets green each and every day. Will the playoff drought finally end? Kings of the offseason, baby. This is what we do. At least we have Garrett Wilson. We have Brees Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinn Williams. Prepare to be underdogs. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Happy Monday. Before we get started, if you want to join us for our next Asmaniac group outing, you can buy your ticket right now to join us on June 29th at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx for the Yankees and the A's. Tickets are available for everybody now. We gave first come, first serve to the Patreon audience, and now we got some leftover seats. So if you want to join us, you can buy up to 4 tickets per group. The link is in the description for this video. And if you're watching live, I just posted it in the live chat. So hopefully we can see a bunch of you in the Bronx for our next group outing. And we'll be doing a pregame meetup at Billy's Sports Bar before the game on that Sunday morning. All right, let's say hello to a first-time guest. I'm a big fan of this guy's work. You can check him out contributing for a bunch of different sites. I first saw him writing about tight ends and about the draft for Badlands. First-time guest, Max Toscano, joins us now from Remember the Tight Ends, which is an awesome Substack that you all should subscribe to. Max, welcome to the show. Appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Me too. It's been really cool just to do all that stuff for Badlands, as you mentioned. I was just kind of tagging along as a bit of an outsider to help them out with their draft guide and do a lot of the tight ends. It's been really cool getting involved with those guys, and it's been, obviously rewarding since they actually drafted a tight end. It would have been kind of funny if I did all that stuff and talked to them about tight ends for like 3 months, only for them not to draft one. But obviously the need was pretty big.
It felt like the two most obvious positions the Jets were going to draft was either tight end or defensive tackle. And ironically, they don't take a defensive tackle. Right. Thankfully for you and your work, they do take a tight end. Before we break down some films specifically on Mason Taylor, because I think you do a great job really showcasing the value of a tight end, especially in this offense the Jets are going to deploy this year. What were your thoughts on the value of that pick? Did Taylor going 42, was that right around where you thought a player of his caliber should go?
Yeah, I sort of had him around like 45 to 55 sort of range around there. So a reach of, what figurative 3 picks isn't really reach at all, especially if you really like the player. And I think not just the Jets, but the league wide really likes Mason Taylor quite a lot. They obviously love the pedigree and the legacy of Jason. Anytime you have a Hall of Fame father, that's really going to get the old heads in football front offices really excited. But there's a lot of good reason to like him. He's very fundamental. He's young. He's talented. He's a 3-year starter in the SEC who stepped on the field and played at a high level right away. He was physically mature at a young age, but still has some not just growing to do, but increasing in terms of athleticism and juice, just because he is still under 22, 23. He's still basically an underclassman. So there's a lot of upside and a lot of floor, and anytime you can combine those things, it's going to get people pretty excited. So I'm not surprised at all where he went, and I definitely don't really bat an eye at it.
So we're going to get more into him specifically, but you look at this offense, Max. They take the tackle and Armand Membu to solidify their offensive line. They still have Brees Hall, despite some trade rumors. He is on the team. You look at the style of football they're going to play. They're going to try and run the football. Do the Jets have the right ingredients to actually have that type of offense be successful? It's one thing to say you want to do it. They said last year they wanted to run the ball, and they were horrendous at it. Do you think they have the right ingredients to actually be able to deploy that type of offense?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. And I think that last year, anytime you get Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, he's going to dictate how the offense is going to be. It's Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback, is one part of the proposition, but Aaron Rodgers, the offensive coordinator, is another really big part of the proposition. And that one really kind of sucks. So it's it wasn't a situation last year where I think they really could do it, just because Aaron Rodgers wants to be in the gun as much as he wants. He wants to be in 11 personnel a lot. He wants to be static and be able to see the defense so that he can make determinations pre-snap and tailor his reads. The problem is that that gets rid of a lot of the dynamic elements that you need in the run game. You need the motion, you need the formational diversity, you need to be under center unless your quarterback is himself a really good runner. And, without those elements, it's impossible to run the ball. But as far as ingredients this year goes, I think the Jets, have built, if Membu is what I think he's going to be, and I'm a big fan of Armand Membu, I think the Jets have a chance to have one of the 3 to 5 best run blocking offensive lines in the NFL, and I don't think they're going to be bad at pass protection either. So when I point out the run blocking, that's just, I think, highlighting what their fastball is going to be, and I think that they have the ingredients to do it at a super high level with that, with the running backs, with a quarterback that is an elite runner and an elite element in your run game, which adds so much multiplicity. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about the Jets run game. I think it has a chance to be particularly dangerous.
If you have any questions for Max throughout the conversation, super chat it in, and we will bring it up on the screen. Before we get to some Mason Taylor film, want to go more in depth with you on Justin Fields. Your thoughts on some of the commentary from the Jets saying they believe he's going to break out. They see the same thing that happened with Darnold in Minnesota and Baker in Tampa. They think that he's the next guy that could have that type of year. Do you see it with Fields? Is there a path where Justin Fields at age 26, now on his third team in 3 years, can have that type of career renaissance that those first two guys I mentioned did?
You never want to rule it out, right? You don't. Anytime you make any declarative statements in this game, you're setting yourself up to look like a bit of an idiot down the road. But I don't see that same thing with Justin Fields, just because he's so behind, especially Baker Mayfield, in terms of pocket operation and processing. And I think that that's something that's really hard to teach. I think that it gets a little taken for granted. But I think it is sort of the most fundamental element of playing this position, is that ability to sort through all the noise and see into the matrix at speed. And Justin Fields really does struggle to do that. We've seen the arm talent that he had in college kind of vanish as a result, just because it's so hard to fit balls into tight windows when you don't have a clear view of what the windows are, when everything is really moving fast for you. And so that creates a lot of limitations. I don't think that Justin Fields is going to be a guy who's going to be able to do what Baker Mayfield has done over the past couple of years and drop back a lot, run a quarterback demanding spread offense that requires him to work from the pocket and make these complex reads and stay on time. I think it's going to be a little bit more similar to Darnold, but I don't think that he has the surroundings that Darnold had. I like Garrett Wilson obviously quite a lot. I don't think that there's a ton of juice in the pass catcher room. I think Mason Taylor's going to be nice, but it's really not the expectation to have a tight end come in and carry your passing game as a rookie. And I don't necessarily think Taylor's that kind of guy anyway, which is okay, because that's not what you draft tight ends for. It's what the receivers are for. But he doesn't have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson and, all of those elements. So I don't think it's going to be quite that, but I do think that there are things you can do to make this offense interesting and exciting because of the legs.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. Want to remind everyone that you have a chance to win this week a full-size Broadway Joe helmet on the show. The raffle will be later this week. Full-size Broadway Joe helmet, Justin Fields signed helmet, Joe Klecko signed helmet, Aaron Glenn signed photo, and I got another prize I'm working on. So if we hit a certain amount of memberships, I will reveal that later in the show. So gift away or send in a $10 super chat or more to be entered in our next raffle. Let's get to some of the film now on Mason Taylor. I thought, when you break down film on guys, you do a good job on showing, hey, this is what they did and this is what I think they can now do in this offense at the next level. So Max is going to screen share on his end, and we got some plays to run through. After each play, if anyone has a comment or question on what we just watched, write it in, and I will bring it up on the screen. So, Max, all you now need to do is hit the screen share button down below. Go to present, share your screen. I'll pull it up on the screen. I see it right here. Now, I can let you know right now we all can see what you're staring at here. So, set the scene for us.
Yeah, so hold on. I got to see if my drawing pen is going to work as well.
The telestrator.
Yeah, is that showing up on the screen?
We're not seeing anything. We see you making the movement for it, but we can't see it.
Yeah, hold on. Let me share something a little bit different then, because I shared the window rather than, so I can just share the entire screen and then go to here. If that works on your end, I can make it pretty big. You may have to just kind of ignore the. Is this good? Is this good? Should I change it to a different thing, or is that going to work?
So I can't. Can you share it again? Because it's not coming up for me.
Oh, it's not? Oh, but that's because I forgot to click share.
All good. Let's see what we got here. All right. Yep. Go ahead. I think we could see. I see the telestrator here. Let's see.
Yeah. I'll get that off the. So basically, like if I'm drawing,
we can see it. That's awesome.
Yeah. If I share a window, it only captures the elements of that window, which is slightly unfortunate, instead of what's in it. But yeah, let's just get started. So basically, I think the fundamental thing to understand about where the Jets are going to be offensively and what Taylor is really going to be asked to do, especially as a blocker, is by understanding wide zone. And so wide zone last year was the Jets' base run play. There are a bunch of reasons for this. Obviously, Hackett ran it a lot with LaFleur in Green Bay. And I don't think that the base run play is going to change. Now the things we talked about earlier are the reasons that the Jets run game was bad last year. But when I went back to the tape pre-draft, just to kind of see what the Jets were about, I really liked what I saw from an outside zone perspective. I'll use the terms outside and wide zone interchangeably. Some people don't. I do. But I really liked the way they blocked it. I think that their skill sets, first and foremost, athletically suited. The Jets' offensive line are not the big people-moving vertical pushers that you see with like the Eagles, but they are great athletes. They're very well coordinated. They're agile and they're technical. And so that really fits a wide zone offense. So basically, the fundamentals you got to understand about the play start with the covered and the uncovered guys. So what a covered lineman is somebody that is going to block a D-line element. So with outside zone, the idea is that everybody is going to go laterally and try to cut off their guys so that the running back can first press outside, and if he can't hit that perimeter, bang it inside here, and if he needs to cut it back even further, can cut it back further. And so that's sort of what happens a lot of the time on this play. So if we can go and just watch this play at full speed, you can kind of see how this is going to run. Right? He's going to be able to hit that crease in the perimeter, and he's obviously going to take it for a nice gain. So if we go back and sort of scrub it a little bit, the F tight end, the outside guy, in these 5-man fronts like this, they're going to have their 3 interior linemen and 2 edge outside linebackers. Hold on, did not grab the pen there. And those 2 outside linebackers. So this guy is just out here. So the F tight end, who's going to be the second guy off the ball here, the Y is here, and the F is here, he's going to have to take this guy a lot. And if there's one tight end and they're in a 4-down front, this guy is going to have to take that. So the point is that the tight end is really often going to be taking somebody who's a hard edge defender like this, and usually a DE outside linebacker type. So he's going to try to turn him out in this case because he's so far outside. Now the offensive line and this is where we're going to get into the covered and uncovered guys. The covered guys are blocking the D line, and the uncovered guys are who's going to climb. So that'll include the tight end here. So it's not really covered if a guy is not over you necessarily, like it is in other plays. But if there's a guy who is just one over from you and you're heading there laterally, that's your guy. You're covered. And so that means that the tight end here is not going to be covered, which means he's going to climb to this linebacker. Now the center is going to account for the mic if he's not covered. If he is covered, he's just going to push it to the next guy to the play side. So center's covered. The guard's going to go climb to the mic, and they can set whoever they want as the mic. And so that's basically the idea of outside zone. I can erase this as well. And so it's basically just this lateral perimeter run that gives the back a lot of options as far as what he wants to do with it.
It's one of the few times the Jets actually had a successful running play too, it feels like.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's just because this is what this offensive line is built to do, right? You look at them get across here. You look at the ability of the running back to press that front side, wait for that to open up, and then hit the cutback. The backside does such a nice job here, especially if you look at Vera Tucker. I call this a shove and scoop. I actually don't really know it. A lot of offensive line coaches in this system will call it different things. But so if you look at Vera Tucker, you're just going to shove that D tackle just to keep him from getting wide and vertical. And what that's going to allow the backside tackle to do is scoop underneath him and cut him off. And that's going to create that alley. Just another example here with the center, Joe Tippmann, who I really love blocking outside zone. I think he's like, ask any outside zone O-line coach, the center is critical, and you need a really, really athletic guy to do that. And Tippmann has just been, he's just so good at this stuff. And you can see that he's able to get across the face of this guy and cut him off and create the seam. So what does that mean for the draft, right? Why we're here with Mason Taylor. Taylor never got to really do it a lot at LSU, but he's a great outside zone blocker. He's terrific. LSU struggled with the play, and you'll see the offensive line's not very good at it, but he is. He does a great job keeping his feet moving. He does a great job timing up his block. He does a great job reading whether he's going to turn that guy out or reach him and cut him off. And when he does need to turn that guy out, he does have the lift and the physicality to prop that guy out and clear that C gap for the running back. So here, with this defender not quite head up, but not super far outside, Taylor's probably going to be able to reach him. And so what he's going to try to do is he's going to try to cut him off and clear that perimeter. Now, the defender does a nice job kind of scraping outside, but Taylor doesn't let him, even though he does get that out, he does get Taylor's outside shoulder. Taylor's able to lift the hands. He gets under the chest. He gets leverage. He lifts and he drives, which is excellent because regardless of his outside positioning, the physical domination here is going to keep that perimeter clear. Now, they have the receiver crack, which allows the corner to make the play, but regardless, from Taylor's end, he clears that alley. He's really good at this stuff. And now we're going to go look at the backside, right? You can see that odd front presentation with the two outside linebackers. Taylor's going to take him, and he's just going to control him and drive him off the ball, which is the only reason that this play can happen. So now we're going to look at a turnout because you're not always going to be able to reach that guy. So we're going to watch the full play here, and you can see this is where it gets really hard because a lot of the time, and we'll watch it from the back here, these edge defenders are going to stick their hand in your chest and they're going to try to two-gap and control you to potentially fold back into that inside gap. So you need to actually be able to not just hold yourself from getting knocked back, but you need to be able to create a little bit of movement off the ball, which which is tough, especially when you have a guy like this. 44 is an excellent run defender. He actually transferred to LSU as a big prize transfer. He's strong, he's physical, and so you could see that he is sticking his hand in the chest here, and he's going to try to fold back into that gap to make the play, because that's his secondary gap, right? His primary gap is that D gap in the perimeter, and his secondary is to fold inside if he sees the back going in there. But because Taylor gets his hands placed in outside hand to the chest, inside hand to the shoulder, lifts, captures that shoulder and holds him out, that crease is clear. This is it's really good. Like, you look at his feet, he's able to step out without getting overextended and off balance, which is very difficult. It's timing that usually needs to be worked. And if you look at the rest of the LSU offensive line, this is a nice one, but they're just not very good at it. He was not among them. So I think with proper teaching in the Jets system, with other guys that can really block this play well, it's a really good fit in the run game. And so wide zone is not a play, right? It's kind of a system that you can do things off of. And nowhere do you really see that more than in the movement pass game or the boot game, right? So Justin Fields, because it's so assistive to the quarterback, it gets you out of the pocket, it gets you away from the rush, it allows you to watch these simpler plays sort of unfold. It's assistive to the quarterback. You don't have to sort through the bullets in the pocket. And so it's good for a guy like him to be in one of these systems, because you can get him these easy explosive completions if you run the ball at a high level. And when you run the ball at a high level, you can get these bodies in the box. Now, they're still in too high, but they still have 7 guys in the box. And these linebackers are flowing front side. And that's what the benefit of this play is, because you can get that flow front side, and you can pop out the back with these contra flow routes like this crosser by Kmet, who I think Taylor is a pretty similar player to. And although I think he's a better blocker, and you can pop them open for easy stuff. So if you can really establish that outside zone run game and run it at an elite level, you can create these situations where you can boot the quarterback and you can get him these easy explosives off of that as well, which is going to cover up a lot of Fields' deficiencies. Now, obviously, it's going to run into a ceiling if he can't do truly everything, but it's a good way to be solid and viable. Now, this isn't outside zone, ironically, because you can see the pullers here, but it's the same idea where you can just leak him out, easy completion off of the run game. And this is why running the ball is so conducive to efficiency in the passing game, because it creates these easy chunks that you don't have if teams are able to just sell out for the pass.
When you were watching Fields, Max, when you broke down his film, how was he as a play action passer? Because Engstrand's coming over from the Lions, where they were among the leaders, if not the leader, in play action dropbacks with Ben Johnson. So I wonder how much of that will come over now with Engstrand as the pass game coordinator, now the play caller, and then, of course, Fields being the quarterback and Aaron Glenn saying they want to let him play quarterback. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to have to, right? Justin Fields is not somebody you want to just straight drop and have him sort through all these options the way you would like a Joe Burrow or a CJ Stroud or, a Jaden Daniels even, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, although Josh Allen is a big play action guy now too with how well they run the ball. But like the fact of the matter is that's just not a recipe for success. So for the Jets to create the efficiency that they need in the passing game, it's going to have to come. And I think you're going to see a lot of that movement passing, but you're also going to see a lot of the downhill play action, which is kind of what, gets us into after this sort of the section after this play. But movement passing is not just underneath, right? So if you watch this play here, this is a play called Hiccup that Kyle Shanahan calls Hiccup because of the route, which is a high corner post, which is crudely abbreviated. So if we go back to that, this used to be something the Shanahan guys use the receivers for, right? So if you take Nico Collins here, he would run that high corner post, quarterback would half boot, and then he would throw it. Oh, he would boot the other way. He boots opposite the post, but regardless, it's their favorite movement shot play, right? They start with the first level, tight end or fullback out into the flat stuff. Then they have their sort of more second level flat crosser. This guy's running like a comeback or something. And then they can take shots on movement as well. So they used to do that with the receivers, but the tight end, because he is a line element, because he's a blocking element, will often get better matchups. Now, there's a bunch of examples of that play where these guys just get totally lost, because a lot of times that safety is, it's just kind of ranging out in center field there, and he's going to nail down on the receiver's crosser. As you can see here, Collins is running a crosser, creates a huge void behind him. But when there's one high safety, that guy's going to drive on the crosser. The safety who's dealing with the tight end has a run gap, so he's like lost in there, and the tight end just gets wide open. So it's a great way to create easy chunks when you have those opportunities for shot plays. And is another thing that a good vertical thrower like Justin Fields will be able to do at a high level.
Is that going to Garrett Wilson in the Jet offense? Is that going to a different receiver in your eyes, Max?
That's up to them. I think it'll go to Taylor, though, because pretty much, I think every time I can remember I've seen that play over the last 2 to 3 years, it's gone to tight ends. And I can think of like 8 examples pretty much right off the top of my head. So you get that better matchup just because he is a run blocker. And it's a better way to get these guys lost in coverage rather than a receiver who's going to have that corner on him no matter what. So, yeah, look, if that receiver's a great one-on-one winner, it's nice. And if that safety stays deep to bracket him, you can throw the over to the tight end. But the tight end is usually who's creating those huge busts in coverage, because it breaks the rules with his ability as a blocker and having to account for him as a blocker. So I think it'll go to Taylor.
That's good to know. Now, have you done any work on Stone Smart, the other tight end the Jets signed? He's a guy that pretty raw. He was a quarterback a few years ago, but the Jets signed him. He's not really a blocker, from my understanding. He's like a pure receiver. Is he someone that you could see factoring in the passing attack?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be all hands on deck. The Jets don't have necessarily a high volume of viable pass catchers, and this is going to be an offense that I do think plays a lot of 12 and 13 personnel, and doesn't necessarily have that many playable tight ends right now, just because I think, I don't think Ruckert's a guy that you want really on the field a ton. I think he's serviceable as a third guy, but yeah, I think Stone Smart's ability as a receiver in those 3 tight end sets is going to be, I think, helpful. I don't think he's going to play a lot, but I think that is going to be a useful role, especially in the movement and the play action game, because when you're in 3 tight end, all he has to really do is dig out that safety, which I think he can do.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. We're talking with Max Toscano. He is, of course, part of Remember the Tight Ends, a Substack you should subscribe to. Does a bunch of work with a bunch of different outlets, including Badlands, where I first discovered his breakdowns on the tight end position leading up to the draft. We're breaking down film on Mason Taylor and Justin Fields and how the Jets offense could maybe unlock the best version of Justin Fields. Reminder about the raffle. Full-size Joe Namath helmet is our top prize. No one's gifted a membership yet. If you do so, you will be entered in the raffle later this week. Let's get back now to the film breakdown. Max, we see your screen. Continue your breakdown here.
Yeah, and so off of the outside zone, off of the movement game is when you get into your true play action, right? So that's less of your boots and more of your hard play fakes and drop backs, trying to get guys behind the linebackers. Now, this is where your receivers tend to get more involved. In the movement game, that's a lot on the tight ends, just because it's a lot of slipping into the flat, a lot of slipping on those crossers behind the linebackers, which is going to be naturally tight end stuff because it's closer to the formation. So the play action game tends to be where you're hitting your deep overs, your deep digs, your deep comebacks, your posts to the wide receivers. But the tight end is your best friend in play action too, because again, he's that offensive line element. So he's got to be accounted for as a blocker. He's usually dealt with defensively by a guy who has a gap in the run game. So it's a nice easy button to be able to hit when you can when you can get those heavy boxes. Now LSU doesn't here, but the safeties are deep enough that they can pop him behind the linebackers, and it's just kind of easy money. So if the Jets can get teams into loaded boxes, let's just pretend that the safety is down here. Well, I mean, they do have a lot of guys in the box, but there's 2 tight ends. They're a body short. So let's pretend that the safety's down here. They're going to be in cover 3. Cover 3, they're not actually in cover 3, but if the safety were down, they probably would be. In those situations, those seams and areas behind the linebackers are wide open. So that can be a way to get easy completions for the quarterback. Tight end's your best friend there. And without Taylor, they don't really have that guy who can block in line and do that. And the element that, you can do that, you can do both of them is critical, because if he's going to be at that single tight end spot, and he can't block in line, then teams are not going to need to put bodies in the box, right? They're not going to need to give you those looks that are efficient to pass into. And so that ability to do both is what makes a lot of these guys useful. Because if it's Stone Smart, he's either got to be that second tight end on the field, and you don't need to use one of these box bodies on him. Or you can put him at the single tight end. Because if it's this guy, it's a totally different proposition than if it's Taylor. This is the move guy. This is the Y. And so Taylor is going to be relied on to work a lot behind the linebackers as that Y tight end, I think. And so now we get into the stuff that's going to be fun with Justin Fields. So while I think that the bread and butter of the offense is going to be your wide zone and play action world, the changeup is where you can get into the really wacky stuff. And we've seen this with the Commanders with Daniels. We've seen it with the Cardinals with Kyler Murray. We've seen it with the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. These extremely diverse, wacky QB run games are so hard to defend, and they are so much harder to defend from light boxes than they are from heavy, which is just another way that I think the Jets can force these loaded boxes and create these easy play action and movement elements for Justin Fields that can kind of shelter him a little bit and still be explosive. So basically what's happening here is LSU is running zone read with the Y as that move blocker. So when you're leaving the defensive end unblocked, and this is how a quarterback run can completely rig the numbers in your direction, because it essentially subtracts a guy from the defense. Literally, they're playing with 10 guys at this point. And so what they can do is you leave this guy unblocked. If he crashes down, you can keep around the end. And if he stays out, you can hand the ball inside. So what that does is it frees these guys up. Oh, whoops. Did not grab the telestrator back. It frees these guys up to climb to this guy because they don't have to account for him. They can double and climb. They can just double this guy. And I may have gotten that wrong, but the fact of the matter is, no, yeah. So I accidentally pushed the wrong mic there. So they can double to this guy. He can take this guy. And there's you see the number surplus that is being created here. Yep. Because if you look at this, these guys are both doubling to this guy and they're fine. Because the end crashes inside. They don't need to block him. So if you look at the tackle, the right guard and the left guard, they're both climbing to the same guy. Now Ole Miss is in a super light box, but this is what you can do to punish these. If teams want to play light boxes and stop all that easy play action stuff behind the linebackers, they're really going to have numbers issues, because now you can take another back. And that frees up the tight end because he doesn't have to account for the end. That frees him up to block whoever that support defender in the alley is. And Taylor's a very, very good move blocker. He does a nice job timing up his feet. You can look at him at the block point here. He gets across. He's going to shuffle down, square up, and he's able to box this defender out. And obviously Daniels makes that last guy miss. But regardless, it's still an 8-9 yard gain before anybody even touches him. And so this is where you can combine the elements of Taylor and Fields, where you can combine Taylor's ability and smoothness to slide into the flat with Fields' ability to rig the numbers in the run game, leave guys unblocked, and be a run threat. And you can get into all the triple option stuff. So a big thing for not just in college, but in the NFL for teams with QB run games has been the integration of triple option principles over the last few years. Now, it's no longer enough to just leave the end unblocked, because a lot of times if they want to bring that safety down, whether the safety's out here, the nickel or whoever the functional box safety is, I don't know how they're listed on Missouri's roster, but whoever from an offensive perspective, whoever that box safety is, and whoever the overhang defender is, if they want to bring that safety into the box, you can't really block him still. So what they could easily do, and this is what teams are doing a lot now, is they can crash this guy down and then have this guy take the quarterback. And that sort of eliminates the numbers concern. Yeah, he leaves his interior gap, but you can read the play and see what's happening and know that that's no longer necessary because the ball's not going there because the end is crashing down. So the way to ameliorate that numbers concern that the defense has recreated is by tripling him. So you do the same thing you did on normal zone read. You read the end, and then you read the support defender. So now in this case, the support defender's in the box. A lot of the times, that guy's like an alley safety, and the nickel's like out here. He's totally out of the fit and can easily just be blocked by this guy. And so this guy will come down to run the alley and take the quarterback. In this case, he's in the box, so it's an easier read. But once you've, not fake the handoff, but pulled the ball, you can head out here, or you can slide the tight end into the flat, and then you once again have a 2-on-1 on this guy. So you're creating basically a triple option. It's the same principle in triple football as your dive key and your pitch key. And teams are doing this with everything. Whether it's zone read, counter read, outside zone read, regardless, midline reads. If you go to some of the Big 12 schools and look at what they're doing, especially Colin Klein, they're doing everything. And I have this whole clip on my folder that I used in the Badlands piece that is just this principle over and over and over with different plays, with different schemes. And that's what I think the Jets need to do a lot of in the run game, is every wacky QB run, read game concept that you've seen on tape in college, whether it's sometimes even the Service Academy, but whether it's Kansas State, Kansas, in the NFL, the Commanders, the Cardinals, the Jets need to get them all cut up, and they need to install them all, and they need to throw the kitchen sink at teams with this option stuff, because it is the best way that you can re-rig the numbers and have a truly dominant run game against anything. So I think when you combine the outside zone element, when you're in the shotgun, especially with this option element, you can throw the kitchen sink at teams completely in the run game in a way that few other teams can. I mean, you look at the Ravens, they have a dominant run game every year, no matter what, in large part because of this. You look at the Cardinals, their run game was excellent last year, in large part because of this. And the Commanders as well, even though their offensive line is just like, okay. The creativity that they employed and Jaden Daniels' ability to rig those numbers made their run game excellent. And obviously the passing game helped by taking pressure off it and forcing teams into conflict, which I don't think the Jets will have as much of. But there's a path to not just being interesting here, but being viable and being efficient and complementing the defense and building something that makes sense and is competitive. And I don't really think any of it would be possible without a tight end like Taylor, who can sort of live between these two worlds, who can be a threat in your movement game, who can be a threat in your play pass game, who can be an effective move blocker, who can be an effective inline blocker, and who can be an effective RPO constraint. I just think it's critical that, and that's part of why I thought Tyler Warren was such a good fit, because I think he could take this to a whole different level. But getting Membu, who's an potentially elite right tackle, and a player like Taylor is also pretty good value. So I think that it paints a picture of what I think the Jets need to be if they're going to be viable on offense with a guy like Fields.
In your rankings, Max, as you broke down all the tight ends ahead of the draft, where was Taylor in relation to Warren and Loveland? How did you rank your tight ends?
Yeah, I had Warren and Loveland at 1 and 2, pretty much on their own tier. And then I had Ferguson and Taylor right next to each other at 3 and 4, respectively. Ferguson, I gave the edge to just because of how fantastic his combine was. I think he has a little bit more upside as a receiver. I think he needs to develop as a blocker, but I also think that he can. So Taylor wasn't far behind. Taylor was, like I said earlier, 45 to 55. He was where they got him. I just think this is, quite a nice class.
Comments, questions, super chats, they cut the line. Appreciate all of you tuning in. Max broke down every tight end in this draft class, and I thought he did a really good job there showing you some legitimate plays the Jets could put into their offense for Fields with Taylor and open things up. This question is from David, who wants to know, Max, do we see a lot of 2 or 3 running back personnel too? How important might a fullback be in this offense? The first personnel move the new Jets GM did make was he signed Andrew Beck, a fullback, back in January. So the Jets do have a fullback on their team right now, Max, to give you some context to what that room looks like in addition to the 3 running backs.
Yeah, I think it's potentially going to be big. I do think you're going to see a fullback. Obviously, as you said, they went out and signed Andrew Beck, who is a guy who plays, right? He's not just a fringe roster guy and special teamer who never gets on the field. He played a lot in Houston, and he's a quality fullback who can even catch the ball a little bit on some of that movement stuff. A lot of that tight end and the flat stuff you can do with a fullback as well. And I think that the fullback is an important element in outside zone. Some people would disagree. There's a lot of guys who just run this from single back. I think it's important. Just because you can have that guy insert anywhere on the line. You can be a little bit more specialized about which defenders you have a guy leading to, instead of having, you're needing your offensive lineman to climb to a certain guy. You can say, all right, this linebacker is in a certain position where we want the fullback to lead because, he doesn't have an offensive line responsibility. He doesn't have to climb. He can just head straight to the fullback. And so it gives you more multiplicity. So yeah, I do think he's going to play quite a bit. It also takes a lot of pressure off your tight end room because you don't necessarily always need that second tight end because he can be that F and he can make a lot of those same blocks. And so he can serve that role. As far as the potentially two true running back stuff, I think you could see that as well. The Commanders did that a ton with Eckler and McNichols or Eckler and Robinson. And it gives you so much multiplicity as far as how you can configure these QB run plays, whether those guys are a lead blocker, whether they're an RPO threat, whether they're a play action threat into the flat, or whether they're just, a potential ball carrier, and that prevents you from defensively from keying in onto the running back side because there's a running back on either side. It's actually really good as far as some of the funhouse stuff that you can do with the QB run game. So I expect we'll see all of it, right? Like I think if you're going to have a quarterback that has a serious strength as a runner, but real limitations as a pure passer, there's nothing under this umbrella that you shouldn't be willing to do. And I think we're going to see all of it.
JR Jet writes, in day off from work, catching the show live, excited about Membu and Taylor. Hope they could coach up Smith, all the talent and all the talented free agents. Hashtag Jet Up. JR, always good to hear from you, my friend. Hope to see you at our Yankee outing. As I see your profile picture there is from our Knicks outing back in March. As far as Arian Smith, Max, I don't know if you did any film breakdown on him, but that is the pick that fired up the Jet fan base the most. People feeling like they reached. We know he's a pure speed guy, 4.3 guy. Yeah, any thoughts on him? Did you take a look at any of the other picks the Jets made in addition to Mason Taylor?
Yeah, I did. I got to be honest. I think Arian Smith is kind of terrible. Uh, like,
So does most of the fan base thinks that too.
oh God, he's. It's not even just the drops either. It's the lack of strength through contact is so devastating to have if you're going to be a vertical threat, because you are going. The one thing you need to be able to do is win on the outside and not get knocked off path, because like your speed is useless if you can't get up to full speed because there's a defender in your hip pocket. The drop rate is I actually saw like the actual number for I forgot what it was, but it's in the 20s.
16.7.
That's career, right? Wasn't it last year like 20?
Oh, you know what? I think that was his career. Yeah, so it could have been in the 20s last year alone.
60, first of all, 16 as a career is nuts. Like 10% is usually the cutoff where you start to say, okay, this guy's got a serious drop issue. That's insane. That's insane, especially for a guy who's going to be low volume, right? Like if you look at like a Marquez Valdez-Scantling, it's a guy who catches, those types of players are catching 22 balls for like 500 yards, right? And if you're gonna drop 6 of those, you're cutting into a huge percentage of your production. And I think that like Jalen Royals was on the board. I think Alec. I don't think he was. He was gone. But unless he was, then that's crazy. But there were so many, I think, better options for this. And I was looking at the Jets roster when I was writing this, and I just thought, like, wow, they could really use a vertical threat. And I think they had an opportunity to draft one, and they didn't, even though that's what he is in theory. I mean, he was nothing for the first few. I don't want to be so harsh, but like, these are the kind of picks that you just end up kind of lighting on fire. That team's kind of light on fire in day 3, hand waving it as a day 3 pick, when you look at other teams and they're taking shots on guys that could potentially start if they hit the high end of their range of outcomes. So I just don't think he's going to do much.
And that is an unbiased opinion on that one, Jet fan. So there you have it, because I thought that pick was terrible too, Max. And I'm not going to freak out over it, because at the end of the day, it's a day 3 pick, and I like what they did the first 2 days. Right. But it just feels like a total reach. If they took him in the 6th or 7th round, we wouldn't bat an eye. But at round 4, when there were other viable options at receiver and defensive tackle that were there, it just feels like a mistake.
The real thing to me is that, like you said at the outset, D tackle was almost felt like an automatic draft at some point position. And that's not to say I think the process behind Arian Smith as a player and what they needed on the roster is fine. I just think that the evaluation is just, if you have no process concerns but evaluation concerns, you can sleep well with it. I just thought that they reached.
Comments, questions, super chats. Adirondack Fly Guy says Taylor is 9 yards, then gets hit once and goes down. I'm not sold on this kid. Seems soft. What are your thoughts on the idea that Mason Taylor is soft? He goes down too quick from contact. Not a great yak guy. You watched all the film on all these guys. Your thoughts on him from that standpoint?
Yeah, well, it's true that he's not a great yak guy. He doesn't have he's very much a linear athlete. He doesn't necessarily have that quick shuffle in the feet to be a great yak guy. And that's part of why I had Terrence Ferguson slightly ahead of him. But I also don't think it's really that important. I mean, it's important and it's a nice thing to have. But if that guy still has the smoothness to get behind the linebackers, he has that feel for space to work the second level and be a reliable zone target, and he has the ability to stretch the seams, then he's doing enough. Obviously, provided he blocks in line as well. But it's true, he's not a great yak guy, and if he were a great yak guy, I think he would have gone in the first round. But he does lack a little bit of that lateral juice that kind of caps his ceiling a little bit as far as a high volume receiver. But as far as being a wide tight end who is, a reliable secondary target, he can do that. He's just not going to be that guy that is creating a ton of huge plays out of nothing. He just isn't.
Alan says, I'd be more excited about Taylor if this team had a legit wide receiver too, which they don't. Teams will stack the box against the Jets and dare Fields to beat them with his arm. Well, your thoughts on that, and some of the things you showed is how hopefully the Jets can combat, the stack boxes and all
Right.
that.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree that I think they need a number 2 receiver. I think it's so much harder to do all this kind of stuff when you do have one guy, but when you can really run the ball, it prevents defenses from keying in on the number 1 receiver a lot because they don't have that second safety deep to bracket him. And if you force that guy into the box, you can make them basic in coverage, and you can create situations where they have to defend him a little bit more honestly, which opens up those options. I do think there's a lot of pressure on Garrett Wilson to finally really become that guy. And I think that we've seen so many flashes of it. But if this is going to work without a number 2 receiver, and with a guy who's a tight end who's a number 3 target, right? Like, unless you're one of the true elite tight ends, even they are often third targets, right? If you look at guys like Dallas Goedert, and David Njoku when they had all the guys in Cleveland. So yeah, I agree. But if Garrett Wilson can really take that step and be that guy who commands volume, that guy who could put up a 1,500-yard season and be the alpha dog, who, unless you're doubling him, he is putting up numbers. I think that they can mask it a little bit. I think, look, if we're being realistic here, the path to an elite offense is probably not there, just because I think that, like you said, they have limitations in terms of numbers at the skill positions, and Justin Fields is a limited drop back passer. It's going to be hard for him to command that kind of volume and drop back over and over again and run the offense without a lot of assistance from the run game. So I think if you're looking for an elite offense, you're probably going to be disappointed. But if you're looking for something that is exciting, makes a lot of sense, has some foundational pieces, leans into its high-end strengths, which are its run game, offensive line, backs, running quarterback, then I think that there's something there for you. But I think if you wanted, a top 12 to 15 offense with this kind of framework, you would need a number 2 receiver. But I just don't think that that's what this year is necessarily going to be about.
Nate wants to know, can Max give his best player comps for our draft? So here's the Jets class to put it up on the screen and refresh you a little. If you don't have a comp, all good. If you do have a comp for any of these picks, let it rip.
Oh, hold on. Quick question. Should I stop scaring my screen, by the way? I totally forgot I was doing that.
So I put your screen down. So
great.
Totally
great.
Up to you.
Excellent. Now I should not have admitted that I forgot to do that. I should have just pretended I did it. As far as comps go, Taylor I compared to Heath Miller in the Badlands draft guide, just because he's not going to be that primo juice guy, but he is going to be super reliable and do everything at a really solid level. And I think that there are going to be some similarities when Taylor matures a little bit athletically. Membu, I'm trying to think of some of these wide zone tackles. There are, we all know the type, the athletic. I don't really watch offensive line guys as much as I care to admit. It's not that I don't watch them, but I don't really evaluate them in any kind of depth, and which you really need to, I think, to give comps. But if you can think of an athletic outside zone blocking tackle who really deals with speed well in pass protection and gets across guys in the run game, that's Membu. Azaria Thomas is a pure man corner. I don't think he's as fast as you would love in that situation, but he did go 73, so that's about right for that kind of player. Otherwise, he would have gone to the top 15, top 20. He's long, he's physical, he's not afraid to try to jump stuff and be aggressive despite that lack of makeup speed. So I wonder if that gets coached out of him a little bit. But, Aaron Glenn is the right guy, right? Aaron Glenn's the right guy for a guy like this. And I think that, I'm trying to think of a good comp for him. I don't watch DBs that much. It's not that I don't watch these guys, but when you're giving a comp, I think you really need to take it seriously, and you need to really find somebody that not just has the athletic profile, but has the scheme fits, that has all the same movement stuff. And
I agree. Because the comps get crazy. I mean, like
Yeah.
I saw Jalen Ramsey for AZ Thomas, and I'm like, I'll take that. But it's like the odds that
He's a corner. He went to Florida State.
yeah.
Throw it up there.
So
I really don't do that kind of stuff just because I think you're just throwing stuff at the wall. It doesn't make any sense. Malachi Moore, I love though. He's such a reliable guy. I think he's a great communicator. I would compare him to Von Bell, at least prime Von Bell, just because I don't think he's that elite athlete, but I think he is somebody who understands your defense well, who handles all your communication, who's a vocal leader, who's reliable, who's sound, and is somebody that you miss because I write about the Bengals too. When Von Bell left the first time, that was tough. That was a tough loss for the Bengals in terms of communication, and so that's who Malachi Moore reminds me of.
comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Last chance to ask a question on tight ends, the draft, the Jets offense before we say goodbye to Max. Let me ask you, specifically about Tanner Engstrand. What have you heard about Engstrand? I alluded to the fact that he was with the Lions and Ben Johnson, but how confident are you in Engstrand being able to go from pass game coordinator to successful offensive coordinator?
Well, then it's kind of the jumping point now. The pass game coordinator title really, especially as an LSU guy, I remember when Joe Brady got that title and changed everything. So it's a position that, in some places is really just a nice title for a raise, but in a lot of other places, it's somebody that has significant input on the direction of the offense from a philosophical perspective, from conceptual perspective, how they're implementing these things, how they're game planning, and how they're working it into stuff. So it's in a lot of cases it can be a great dry run to offensive coordinating. I don't know what their dynamic in the building was, what he was necessarily responsible for, but when you're the pass game coordinator for what is, in my opinion, over the last couple of years, the best offense in football from a scheme and design perspective, you're doing something right from a Jets perspective going to get that guy. Do I know if he can make the jump? No, nobody does. But I think when you're looking at the people that can and can't make the jump, and I had to pick them all from a line, Tanner Engstrand is going to go pretty high just based on his credentials and based on where he's been, based on the role he had in that position. And of course, the development job of Sam Laporta. That's why I was so excited that Taylor went to the Jets, because the development of Sam Laporta was pretty unbelievable. He's come such a long way in the last 2 years, especially as an inline blocker, and that has made his usage so much more reliable, so much more real for the Lions offense. And he has become a guy I was pretty skeptical of earlier in his career to somebody that, I think is one of the best tight ends in this league. So if he coordinates like he develops, then I think the Jets are in good hands.
Sebastian with a super chat. If you were Muji, that's the Jets GM, would you be trying to get Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper in the building?
Yes. I don't know about Allen because he looks athletically just done. Finally, after such a long, unbelievable career that guy had, he was unbelievable, but it looks like the end. Cooper, I think, may have something left. And I think that's a potential interesting buy low, especially as somebody you're not necessarily asking to be that number one receiver. I am a little scarred as a guy who had Amari Cooper in fantasy last year and was just stashing him on my bench waiting for him to win me the league, which I did do. But I don't think it would cost that much. And I think that the upside of an Amari Cooper being at least a competent number two would change a lot of things.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Max Toscano. Max, appreciate you hopping on, man. Great breakdown, really informative. And as we get closer to the year, we'll bring you back when you have more for us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it. I kind of can't wait to see how this all takes shape in training camp in the preseason.
What's the best way for people to support you?
Yeah, first of all, subscribing to Remember the Tight Ends. That's been growing recently, which I've been really excited to see, but I obviously got to keep those numbers going up. Subscriptions are free. Certainly for now, it's really mostly about visibility and building the site. into something that is really meaningfully contributing to discussion and discourse online. My Twitter account at Max Toscano 1 is where everything kind of runs through. It's kind of the port that you can find every single thing that I do. So it's a good hub to see everything that I'm up to. Reading my stuff on all Bengals or on Bengals Talk SI, we changed that. On Bengals Talk SI as well. I'm gonna have a whole bunch of stuff coming up there. It's it's obviously Bengals related, but there's a lot of league wide kind of implications for all the kind of stuff that I write. And just following me on Twitter, subscribing to Remember the Tight Ends, and that's where all that stuff's gonna be. You can go check out the Badlands draft guide for my Mason Taylor full write-up, as well as supporting all the stuff that those guys have done for the players that the Jets did draft. Maybe skip the Arian Smith one.
We got a preview of that before.
Oh yeah, well, I don't disagree with it. But yeah, it's great stuff. Those guys are unbelievable. So I think that supporting them as well, just to to repay the opportunity to be able to contribute to them, is definitely the least I can do. So go check out everything that they do. Go check out the draft guide as well. It's great stuff.
Max, appreciate you, man. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. This is awesome.
Max Toscano joining us. Really good insight there. If you missed the film review, rewind, because really good breakdown. Some Taylor film, some concepts from Fields, and how the two could be more together. So much of the Jets season hinges on the coaching, the play calling, how they utilize Fields' strengths. I mean, that's really it. They could have a viable offense, and the defense should be a lot better. But is the coaching up to par? We don't know. We want to believe it will be, but we don't know. Paul Taxter has get the 5 channel memberships. Paul, I'm boosting you to 7 raffle entries. We're an hour in. You're the first to do it. Thank you for the support, my man, in the lean months of May. So this is for you, Paul. Danny Yaz, Taylor Sterling, Evan, Mike Mime, and Michael Flood all receiving channel memberships. Comments, questions, super chats, they will cut the line. Let's get to some calls now here on our show. Scotty, are you there? I don't see a camera on, but I know you're standing by. I will go to you if the camera comes on. Scotty Mayhem is first up today. What's up, Scotty?
Jake, I want to jump off on the point you just made and really focus in on analytics afterwards and why I really think that I have an overpick for the Jets. Full disclosure, love the Mets, love the Knicks, love the Rangers, but the love that I have for the Jets is unparalleled. I am a diehard. I played poker tournaments. I got all my Jet garb on. Wow. Here's the thing always that I want to point out, okay? We had a historically bad coaching staff. That's not my opinion. That's based on a top 5 roster that ended with, 5 wins and became a dumpster fire. It was badly constructed with Saleh. But once Saleh left, our coaching staff was so bad, it was reprehensible. But here's the thing that you said. Unlike any other sport, I think the coaching staff is the most important, more so than any other sport. It's not even close. So yes, it's a projection. It's, these are first timers, but we did have a historically bad coaching staff. So we can only go up. There's no way we're going down. But here's the thing. Here's the analytics that I want to point out to Jet Nation. And if you want to really project, these are all projections, again, by a diehard. So I am, wearing rose-colored glasses. Take a look at the top 8 teams. Okay, the top 8 teams with the top 8 offensive lines. Take a look at the statistics and see what I'm about to say, okay? Every single one of them but one, which were the Carolina Panthers, were in the playoffs. So again, a projection, right? We have an offensive line that potentially is a top 5, okay? Worst top 10, best maybe top 3. If you look at Mark Sanchez, who was at best a game manager, you cannot tell me that Justin Fields doesn't have a higher floor than Mark Sanchez, okay? If the coaching staff is what I believe it's going to be, we are not going to win 5.5 games. Floor 7 to 8 games, ceiling 9 to 11. Take the freaking over, guys. I am telling you, this team is a lot better than anybody is projecting. I know we were just ranked like 30th in terms of, the draft, but I'm telling you this, guys. Don't sleep on this. The Jets are going to be an exciting team. Justin Fields is going to be a revelation with his legs. He can make all the throws. I agree with Max about the reach at 4, as everybody else, unless you're blind, says this guy is a reach. He's got stone hands. But here's the thing. We have the potential to utilize him to take the top off. We're going to run the hell out of the ball. Take a look at the 2009, 2010 teams, and we can be better. We can be better than those teams. So I am so high in the Jets this year, and I know I'm a fanatical lunatic, but I'm telling you this, Jake. There is an opportunity, there is a path for us to be a wild card up to an 11-win team. That's how I see it.
Scotty, I hope to God you're correct. To me, it just feels like everything would have to go well for that to be the case. I think they're better in some areas than they were last year, with coaching being the biggest on the offensive side of the ball. But until I see it, I can't get sucked into thinking this team's going to be very good. I don't think they're going to be the worst team in the NFL. I think it's ridiculous that they're projected to pick 1 or they're ranked 30. I don't think they're that bad. I think this roster still has a lot of really good pieces on it when you compare it to other quote-unquote bad teams. But there's a major unknown at quarterback and coach, and those are the 2 most important positions.
The one thing, when you get a chance, Jake, please take a look at the statistics, though. If we project to have one of the top offensive lines, please take a look at it. If we're in the top 5 of offensive lines, things are going to have to go really bad for us not to win ugly and a lot and often. We're going to win a lot of games ugly and often, I get that. But we are a top 5 offensive line team, and take a look at all the teams last year. Those are analytics, right? Take a look at them. If we're that good on the offensive line, we're going to be a lot better than people think.
I've always said I'd rather win ugly than lose pretty, so I'll take any wins we can get.
Thanks, Jake.
Scotty, good call, man. I love it. Love the passion, man. One of the few guys that optimistic, which you got to respect. Ladies and gentlemen, our guy Craig in Australia. Psych, the man is in New York City right now. I was with Craig and a bunch of listeners to this show over the weekend. I went to a Yankees game with some Asmaniacs/Shiners. Nick Shine was there. Snowball, Lee Vaughn. It's no longer Lee Van. In Spanish, it's Vaughn. So we're calling him Lee Vaughn from now on. Peter, Nick Shine Jr., Craig, and his lovely wife. What a time it was. Shout out to Craig. A legend. He gifted 5 channel memberships. You know what that means? First, I'm going to play this.
We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Next, I'm going to shout out who won. Prodigy Reigns, Peter, Anthony Liguriato, Dominic D'Angelo, Michael Calvo, all receiving a channel membership. Craig is in our Asmaniac raffle for 5. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig with a super chat. Mate, so good to see you all over the weekend. Also, I've been hit more times by aggressive elevator doors and Hotel Edison than Nate's bike. Incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, let's head to Times Square, where standing by is a good friend of the show, Nate, parentheses Nate. Hello, Nate.
Guys, how we doing?
Nate, how are you?
Just got on. I kind of missed the beginning of it. How we doing? Yo, buddy, watch it.
Whoa.
Oh, he took one.
Oh my goodness.
You all right? Watch where you're fucking going, mate.
Man. Wait, hang on. I know you.
We're here in Times Square with Craig live. Don't worry, Matt. I know you took the bait. I know you thought I took him out again. Don't worry. It was a different guy. Mrs. Craig has her heart in her throat right now. Someone did try to help. Someone leaned over to try to help Craig and thought I really took this man out because I did come on the pedestrian walkway. I apologize, all pedestrians. We're on our way over to the Mets game.
Amazing. What a moment that was, huh? Before we get to more of your calls, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to one of our own. So Lenia, North Carolina, she wrote in our Discord group over the weekend that her husband needed emergency surgery. He's currently in the hospital right now. The latest updates are promising. Her husband was on a ventilator and is no longer on the ventilator. So very serious situation, obviously. Breathing is apparently good. And that was the last update we got from over the weekend. I didn't have a show yesterday, so I couldn't talk about it. But just want to send my best to Leanie and her family, and obviously wish her husband a speedy recovery, who Seemingly he's doing a lot better than yesterday. So good news there. And obviously sending my thoughts and well wishes to Leanie and her fam. We love Leanie. It's a huge part of our show. So since I didn't have a show yesterday, I reached out to Leanie privately, but I want to, of course, talk about it publicly here so everyone can keep Leanie in your thoughts during this time. Huge super chat here from Bo C. Bo, you're the man.
You get the fuck out.
Bo with 10 raffle entries in our full-size Broadway Joe helmet. Let's go, baby. Scotty Mayhem finally has my exact take on the build of this team. Also, slow time on the season, but I'm here for you, Jake. Keep plugging away, my guy. Good things come to those who wait. Bo, you're the best. Certainly a slow time. If we want Jet news, we will get, I don't know if it's big news, but we will get rookie minicamp this upcoming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we'll hear from Glenn. We'll hear from some of the players there. So, that always leads to some conversation to have on the show. But it's slow right now, so I appreciate everyone tuning in. May and June on this channel, and even July until training camp at the end of the month. It's for the diehards. It's for the real Asmaniacs, so I appreciate all of you. Quick reminder, Huga House, right now, 20% off. You want the performance line hat I'm wearing? They have them in all different colors. Green, beige, white, black, gray, navy blue. You can get it 20% off when you use promo code ASMAN at checkout. HugaHouse.com, promo code ASMAN at checkout, 20% off. Comments, questions, super chats. To the phones we go. Tim from Fishland joins us. Tim, where you been?
Not really paying attention to football this year. I haven't been really. I mean, everything that's going on, Justin Fields really doesn't excite me. All right, there's a reason why Tomlin pulled him at 4-2 last year because George Pickens is literally with his hand up. All right, Zach Wilson 2.0. Unfortunately, he might be a little bit better at passing than Zach, but it's like, what are we going to come into? Even if we have a good O-line, all right, is this kid going to throw the ball with rhythm and timing? Is he going to be afraid to pull the trigger? All right, like he was in Pittsburgh. Like that's the thing that's just like, so we'll see. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it'll be Tyrod Taylor time, and we know he's got a beautiful deep ball. So we'll see what happens. Let's just say my expectations for this season are very low.
I get it. Now, did you like the draft, though?
I like that they picked a tackle, but I really wanted them to pick a D tackle to pair up with Quentin Williams because he's constantly getting triple teamed and double teamed. All right, the game starts at the line of scrimmage. You got to be able to stop the run. You got to be able to run the ball. But with the Jets this year, when you have a quarterback like Justin Fields back there, guess what you're going to see? A lot of zero protection, cover one. All right, QB spies everywhere. They're going to come after him, and they're going to make him throw to win the game. That's how every defensive coordinator is going to go after him. They're not going to allow him to run the ball. So he's got to be able to see.
They tried that in Chicago. He still put up 1,100 yards rushing in a year, too, to be fair.
Yeah, I get that. He's got great athletes. That's why I call him Zach Wilson 2.0. He's got better legs, but it's still the kind of the
He's
same
better than
thing.
Zach Wilson, Tim. I mean, when it comes
athlete. When it comes to down the field passing, he hesitates and he doesn't pull the trigger when it needs to be pulled.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong completely with that, and we saw some of that on film after we signed him, and we broke it down. But I think the thing with Fields that you're banking on is the fact that they have legitimate plans to have a real base offense running the ball. They have a really good O-line, the best O-line Fields has ever had. They obviously still have Brees, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. You're banking on the situational coaching being better, the kicking game being better. Like, if it all goes well, they could be a decent team. But I'm kind of with you. The reason why the expectations are low, when do things all go well for the Jets,
Never. They haven't gone well in 15 years.
Exactly.
All right. I think I was 21 last time we were in high school. Now I'm 36. So let's it's kind of like the ex-girlfriend that says, or the girlfriend that says she'll never talk to another guy or cheat on you again, but she's going to do it behind your back again. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how I look at the Jets. So it's like, until I'm on the tank for Arch movement in my personal opinion.
He might not even be coming out.
We'll see.
And also, there's other quarterbacks. There were 4 that went in McShay's top 10, and Arch wasn't one of them because he has him going back to school.
we'll see. We'll see what happens. But like I said, my expectations are low, so I haven't really been taking that too much of paying attention to it that much. I mean, I've looked and seen who we got. Like I said, I like the tackle. I would have liked to have seen a D tackle. I believe you can get a right tackle in the second round or third round that starter capable. I don't think you have to go first round, especially a top 10 pick for a right tackle, which that should make the offensive line solidify. But you already know if you don't have a good offensive line coach, guess what happens? Like we had Keith Carter for the last couple of years. Oh, what I would have loved to have Callahan or some real or Scarneggia from New England, some real offensive line coach that knows how to teach offensive line. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, fair. Hopefully Glenn hired a good staff there. See, the offensive staff is very unproven. So they could be great. They could stink. I don't know. It's part of the reason why I'm not sold on this team being great, because it just feels like it's yet another layer that has to go well for them to be good. It can happen, and we watch sports because it's a reality show and you never know. But if I'm staking my life on it, do I think the Jets are a 10 or 11 win team or closer to a 5-win team? I'd say 5, but I hope I'm wrong. Hopefully they're 9-8 and make the playoffs. JYB in the raffle for 2 with a super chat here. First live show in a while. Received the helmet. Always appreciate you, Jake. Based off everything Max said, what's a realistic stat line for Taylor? Glad you got the helmet, JYB. And Peter Castro should have gotten his Fields helmet. So the official raffle prize swap, our first of its kind, was successful. Congrats on the raffle win, as always. As far as stats for JYB, could Mason Taylor have 45 to 50 catches and 535 receiving yards and have 3 to 4 touchdowns? I think that's fair. I think that's a fair stat line for him. Right? $50 catches, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. I think that's fair. Stats are tough with rookies. I'm not saying that. Arch will come out if the Jets can take him. I don't think Arch is coming out because he wants to stay in school for 2 years. He's making great money in college. And his last name is Manning. It's not like he's poor. Let's see. More of your calls right now. Jetaholic is on the line. What's up, Jetaholic?
Hey Jake, hopefully my internet's better today. Sorry about that the other day. It was acting up.
You're
Does that
good. What's
sound
going
better?
on, man? Yeah, you sound good, man. Appreciate you
All
calling
right.
in.
All right, good. So yeah, with the draft, I really like the Mason Taylor pick, and I was really pleased with the draft, especially the first 2 rounds, because I think they really attacked the needs instead of going best player available, which was the Joe Douglas special. So I'm really happy with the Membu and Taylor picks for sure. And then day 3, I thought they made a couple nice picks, but day 3 is day 3. Like I'm not gonna get too upset over the day 3 picks because 9 times out of 10 those guys aren't on the team in a few years anyways. So
For sure. But if it turns out that he's as bad as we all think, it's just another knock on the regime, you know?
yeah, no, that's true. And then another thing too, I just thought it was so funny that of course the prank calling had to be Ulbricht's son. Like the Jets are always involved in anything in the news in some way, shape, or form.
Always. And you know what's crazy, too? There were multiple prank calls that occurred to prospects, but the only
Yeah.
one where they got verification on how it happened is, of course, Ulbricht's son, which there's always a Jet tie to it somehow.
Seriously, like we can't get out of the news. Like the Jets can't get out of their own way. It's just, and then also too, I kind of did want us to draft a QB as well, especially with the unfortunate Jordan Travis news. So I agree with you there. But I don't know. Maybe they do really like Fields, and maybe they just want to have his confidence as high as possible. But I mean, drafting one in the 6th or 7th round or 5th round, like I don't know. I still think they should have taken a shot, but I'm okay with it either way.
Yeah, I'm someone that looks at it like if you don't have a franchise quarterback. What's the harm in taking the dart throw until you find one on day 3? And like I look at it like this too. The idea that Fields would be looking over his shoulder if they took Kyle McCord in the 6th round is nonsense to me. That Fields is not the guy if that's going to rattle him. You know, like I just feel like there was no harm in doing that. They chose not to. Maybe Brady Cook is going to end up making this team because he has a good summer and he'll be the 3rd quarterback. I don't know.
He could, yeah. And I mean, it'd be different if they took someone earlier on, like, you know, maybe Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. That I could kind of understand. Maybe they didn't want to rattle Fields at all, but he's got to be confident anyways. And also, too, I think we should try and do an Asmaniac meetup for the home opener this year. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we did it last year for the Thursday nighter against New England, and we had a big tailgate at L5. Beforehand, with the jersey burn, we had Justin Pugh, former NFL lineman, showed up. That was great.
Yeah.
So when we get the schedule, we'll have a better idea. I mean, there's a chance that's a primetime game if it's Pittsburgh and Rodgers, right? So
it could be. That also could be Steelers-Packers, too, if he goes there.
I heard that game is in Ireland. Is that not true? There was rumblings of it.
Okay, I didn't know that. But anyways, quick little news here before I let you go. I'm gonna be a dad in October, so
wow.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. It'll be my first time. I do have a stepson, but it'll be my first time, you know, actually having a kid of my own, even though I consider him mine, obviously. But so that's why I would like to do the home opener if we can, because I need to go like weeks 1 to 3 because I don't want a chance missing that, you know. And I'd rather not go in like December.
Hey, that's awesome, man. Congrats to you and your wife. That's great.
Thank you. I appreciate it. He's definitely going to be a little Jets fan. I already got the little Jets baby infant booties. I'm sure my dad, he's a big Jets fan. I'm sure he'll be getting them a ton of Jets clothes, and obviously I will too. So we'll have another Jets fan with us for sure.
Love it. Another Asmaniac as well. Do me a
Yes,
favor.
sir.
Shoot me your information in an email. I want to send you an Asmaniac onesie for when the baby's born.
All right. I appreciate it, Jake. That's awesome.
For sure,
that is
man.
awesome. You're the man. Thank you. Have a good one, Jake. Thanks for taking the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jedaholic calling, and that's awesome. And also, as is tradition on the show, here's a message from our former quarterback.
Hey, congrats on the sex.
Congrats, Jedaholic. Love it. It's fantastic stuff right there. Yo Home says, Arch is not good. Only people who are casual say tank for Arch. They only know the name and not the actual results. Saying he's not good is ridiculous, and it's just a contrarian take. He's barely played. How would you know if he's good or bad? When he played, he looked pretty good. But he's barely played. He started a couple games against some low-level schools when Quinn Ewers was hurt this past year. Yo Holmes and Bang Mateo just love the zag when everyone's zigging. That's all it is. I could cure cancer, and Yo Holmes' comment would be, you didn't do it fast enough. Like, it just is how it is. Please hit the like button if you haven't. Another reminder for those tuning in late that we do have some spots left over for the general public if you want to join us at Yankee Stadium on June 29th for our first ever Asmaniac at the Ballpark event. We'll have a pregame meetup at Billy's Sports Bar before the game. First pitch is at 1:30 on Sunday, June 29th. Link is in the description. You can buy your ticket today. It's first come, first serve. I think we have 20 or so left, and then we're out. No guarantee I could get more. So come join us. If you've never been to an event, it'll be a lot of fun to get the community together for an afternoon in the Bronx. Open phone lines if you want in on the conversation. So call in, be a part of the show. Gift a membership for your chance to get in the raffle. Full-size Broadway Joe, Justin Fields helmet, Klecko helmet, Aaron Glenn jersey, signed photo, and I will work on one more prize to get us the 5 later today. More of your calls right now.
Running out of Jets news. Phone lines are open. Call in Charles. We'll fart in your mouth.
Here we go. Beast Breakers up next. Hello, Beast.
Nice video. Very, very cool. Oh, the DVD was sent out Saturday. Did you get the tracking number to that?
I saw that you sent me the tracking number.
Yes.
Yes.
Keep an eye out on it for it. So you should be there tomorrow or Wednesday. And there's a surprise in the DVD. There's $60. The $10 you can use that for for food or whatever. But the 50, that's gonna go to 10 memberships. This will be my first time doing this, and I'm gonna. Do you want me to reveal them?
Reveal it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my top 10. I'm going to reveal them right here, right now. Number 1's going to be the big fella because he helped me get back on my feet and many other things. Bo C is number 2 for helping me get out of the hole several times. Got to give him his credit. Zach and Jake and Zach, I got to give these two credit. They're great guys. Funny as can be. Love them as always. Also want to give a shout out to my daughter Jackie and her husband Miguel. Also, I want to also give another shout out to another great man who's helped me along the way for achievement, and that is the captain. And I'm talking Dean David Briga, the Dean of Briga University. He's a man, and he's a great legend. And when I die, I'm going to give everything to that man, Dave Briga, because he showed me the way of achievement. Also, I want to give another shout out to Gary for helping me out on the carnivore diet. I'm doing pretty good with that. Okay, his takes are cool, but sometimes it can be a little crazy off the rails. But hey, Gary is Gary. Nothing said. That's the way it goes. That's the bottom line. And 2 other ones I'm also wouldn't mind giving a welcome to. Well, I know he doesn't like me at times, but I'll give Judge Johnny his due. He does deserve a little credit. Sure, his rapping skills are cool, but you know what? He's cool. I'm just gonna leave it to that. Bottom line, nothing said. Now, the videos that we were watching today, very good. I like where we're going, but we got to mix up several points on. Can't do so much to passing because then teams will figure that out real fast. But we got to play more running game, more speed, more running. But don't give the plays out. Just keep them like this, like keep it chicken, keep it like this. Keep it under. You don't give out the play that way. Because then if you do, you're screwed.
Hey, Beast. Beast, yes. Can you simulate a Justin Fields handing the ball off to Breece Hall in the wide zone look that they're going to try and run?
All right, now if you want to do your I formation, you have to have your 4 guys right here. Now your quarterback has to stay right here. Justin stays right here. Breece stays right here. All your men, including Membu, who you got, and AV, and the guys that we need. Now the position is now they stay in position. They get ready. When you signal, you give the ball up. And then you go this way, and then you go 1, 2, and jump into the end zone. That's how you're supposed to play. But in order to do that, you got to do another different way. If you want to go left, you got to go 1, 2, 3, and then right, just like that. That's how you're supposed to do it. Ladies.
Beast Breaker 666. He's the man who would kick your ass, and then he'd go.
Great breakdown, some salient points, of course, made by Beast Breaker there. So for those who don't get what Beast was talking about at the beginning of his call, he sent me a DVD of like a Yankeeography of some sorts. And he asked for my address on the air. And I told him it's 161st Street, Bronx, New York. So Beast sent it to that address with $60 in there to gift memberships. Now, here's the problem, Beast. I can't pick who gets the membership. It's randomly assigned. So your shout outs people heard, and I will make sure that we gift those memberships in your name, and you will be entered in the raffle. Now, for those who don't know, I got to call up Yankee Stadium and find out when my mail from Beast is going to be arriving. Because, Beast, the address I gave you is the address to Yankee Stadium, not my address. I can't believe you thought I was real. But have no fear. I will call up Aaron Boone or Hal Steinbrenner or Brian Cashman after the show, and I will track down that package. And I will make sure that I get that DVD. And I will make sure that the memberships you wanted to gift, we gift them on your behalf. And I will put you down in the raffle when I do that. Nate's actually going to go bike to Yankee Stadium now to pick up the package for me. Very nice of you, Nate. Super chat from the big fella. Beast, you've made great progress. Can't wait until we get some tacos. Keep up the good work. Amen. Amen. Beast is a changed man since Bobby Beasley was exposed on this show. A changed man, damn it. Dylan says you asked for a handoff and you got 2 bed dives. The Jets are implementing a new play in the offense this year, Dylan. I spoke with Tanner Engstrom about this. Instead of the fullback dive, it's the BB dive. The Beast Breaker dive, baby. Incredible. All right, fun show. I want to thank you all. We're back in the afternoon. Let's go Knicks tonight. We got more coming up on the afternoon show. I will have another raffle prize to discuss. And we will break down the latest and the greatest from the New York Jets. But before I get out of here, I end the show with the debut of a new track. The hit song, Bobby Beasley, debuts now.
Bobby Beasley in the ring in his pink bling. Fishnets flash and his skirt shows his thing. Lipstick, red heels, tall as sin. Yells, I came to win, moisturize my skin. It's Monday Night Raw versus London Fashion Week. And Bobby's slamming while looking chic. Doing his makeup, crowd goes berserk. Beast was right, Bobby Beasley wears a skirt. He'll DDT you in a mini skirt, then choke slam your meat until his fingers hurt. He loves rimming and winning, now he's pinning. 1, 2, 3, please, Bobby, tuck your foreskin in. So laugh if you want, but don't be silly. Bobby loves suplexes and Bobby loves Willie.
Oh, man. Oh my God, my insides are making me laugh. Oh, for Dr. Jake, I wanted to show you something that I got here from my old high school. That's right, 30 bucks.
Are you an actual lawyer or what, man?
Yeah, I am a lawyer.
If